Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending tonight's budget workshop on curriculum and instruction. If you could all please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance. Okay, so we are here tonight for our budget workshop number 2 of 4. We are here to have a discussion about our budget for next school year. And with that being said, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Romanelli.
Thank you, Mr. Tussey. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. So just a few words about our presentation this evening before we get started. We are dealing with a very challenging budget year for a number of different reasons. First off, our state aid numbers that came in from the governor, our district is being cut by about $3.4 million in state aid. That is due to 2 factors. Number one is the elimination of the Save Harmless piece of the budget. Previously, districts that were fully funded in foundation aid were given this Hold Harmless piece where you were able to receive the same amount of state aid that you received in the previous year, and districts were able to plan more long-term, expecting that money to come through. That was pulled away this year. Also, the inflation factor, the inflation rate was adjusted, the formula in looking at that. We would have been at about a 4.1%, but what the governor did and her team was they removed the lowest number, they removed the highest number, they took a new average, and we wound up coming in at about 2.4%. All that contributed to our loss of about $3.4 million. The district has been looking at building up our reserves over the past many years. And we are looking to allocate some of our reserves to cover the gap that we have in this year's budget. We're also very hopeful that we're going to have that state aid returning to us. We've been advocating with a lot of different politicians and appreciate people in the room that have reached out and advocated. That goes from parents and staff. We really believe and are hopeful that we are going to hopefully, have the state aid returned to us. We're hearing bipartisan support for that. We're going to look at the Senate and Assembly budgets that are coming out shortly, and we're expecting the governor's final budget numbers to come in right around the beginning to middle of April before we adopt our budget for the district. So even with allocation of those reserves, and even with the state aid numbers coming back the way they are, if we do have that money returned to us, we're still facing a deficit in the budget. And that deficit is really based on controls, costs that are out of our control. Ms. Pilati and Ms. Morrison are going to talk a little bit more about that this evening. We have things like our family plan for healthcare up 24%. We have transportation costs up. We have insurance costs up. A lot of things that have raised that we need to pay for that are outside of our control. So you're going to see kind of an outline of a lot of different things this evening. We're going to talk about some areas we're expanding as a district and some things that we're adding, and also some areas that we're doing some restructuring and then we may be losing some positions. And I want to stress that when we do talk about positions, they're the positions, and we have to have further conversations with our teams, units of people, to talk about people and where they may be able to fill in after that. So a lot of future conversations. And really, tonight is not necessarily a night about decisions. It's a night about us presenting, talking about where we're at with the budget. This is budget workshop number 2 of 4. There will be time for questions from the board and questions from the public as well if people do want to speak. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Morrison for our curriculum instruction.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the 24-25 Curriculum and Instruction Budget Presentation. We are excited to share with you the current accomplishments across all areas of curriculum instruction and extracurricular activities this evening, as well as future initiatives that will continue to advance our K-12 students towards successful endeavors beyond high school. Before we begin tonight's presentation, Mrs. Pilati, Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations, will provide a brief budget update.
Good evening, everyone. The tax levy limit and the related formula was reviewed at our first budget workshop on February 27th. Since then, we have made several adjustments to our budget in an effort to reduce our budget gap. One of those adjustments was the decision to finance the purchase of our Chromebooks, from BOCES over 4 years. By financing this purchase, the district must reduce the amount of the expenditure in the budget, but also include that amount, that financing cost for next year, as an exclusion in our tax levy limit formula. So this added exclusion led to a slight increase in the proposed tax levy, bringing it to $93.4 million, as you can see, or 1.44%. That's a 1.44% increase over the prior year. So the initial proposal was 1.28, and we're just going up 0.16%. So if the board is okay with that, I will revise the formula with the OSC, because we did submit by the deadline on March 1st. Okay. So even with this slight increase, West Islip still has one of the lowest tax levy increases in Suffolk County. As discussed also during our first budget workshop, and as Dr. Romelli mentioned, the governor's proposed executive budget, which includes the removal of the safe harmless and a change to the inflation factor in the foundation aid formula, coupled with higher rates of inflation, rising costs, and our low tax levy increase, has put our district in a very challenging budget situation. Our initial draft of the budget that was provided to the Board of Education in February included all requests from every department, including several new positions. That first draft of the budget came in at around $142 million, and that left us with a budget gap of $8.1 million. District office then went back and worked with the administrative team to bring our budget gap down to what it's currently at, $4.1 million. The state budget should be released by April 1st, although there is talk that we might not get it until April 15th. But as Dr. Romanelli mentioned, we are hopeful that those proposed changes that the governor is making to foundation aid will not be included in the final version. So that would benefit all school districts, but specifically West Islip, because we would receive our foundation aid of the $3.4 million back that we have been taken away from us. So this would be a critical step to eliminating that budget gap as it currently exists. I'm going to turn it over now to Mrs. Morrison for the rest of the budget presentation.
Thank you, Mrs. Pilati. The district's commitment to providing high-quality education for students remains unwavering despite the current budget challenges. Tonight's presentation reflects our strategic efforts to address the evolving needs of our students by ensuring that classrooms and extracurricular experiences nurture their intellectual curiosity, critical thinking, and executive functioning. For the upcoming school year, all current instructional programs will be maintained. In addition, we are excited about the following areas of expansion. Throughout the past 2 years, we have successfully embedded the science of reading into our elementary work. Every pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, first and second grade classroom utilizes Fundations to provide students with the systemic, multisensory literacy instruction. In September, we will advance the implementation of Fundations to third grade classrooms, which will serve to support the natural progression of language acquisition skills for our students. Third grade teachers are scheduled to receive professional development this spring to be ready for September. Ongoing professional development will be provided via a push-in consult model next year to ensure the program's success. Over the past 4 years, there has been a significant increase in the number of preschool students with disabilities, specifically in the areas of speech language and social emotional regulation. Later this evening, Mrs. Dowling will present data that supports the need for the addition of 1 speech language therapist and 1 district-wide board-certified behavior analyst. The district currently employs 3 full-time ENL teachers to support the learning needs of the English language learners K-12. This year, our ENL population increased to 78 students across 4 buildings and requires additional staffing going forward to ensure that students receive the services entitled to under Part 154 of the Commissioner's regulations. The depth of services for English language learners is predicated on their ability levels when enrolled in the district and the progress that they make over time. Based on the regulations, many ENL students require 2 periods of instruction per day, 5 days a week. So therefore, we do need to increase our ENL teaching staff. A 6th grade ICT class was added to Beach Street Middle School during last year's budget cycle. The district will expand the ICT program this year at Beach Street with the addition of a 7th grade ICT class. Providing ICT classes at both Beach Street and Udall Road Middle Schools allows the opportunity for our integrated co-teaching students to attend their home middle schools. The district looks forward to expanding CT offerings at the high school. Introduction to welding and precision machinery have been added to the high school course offerings for the next school year. These courses are able to be added without additional staffing. Mrs. Bandes will share additional information in regard to the course offerings later this evening. The district is currently anticipating a slight increase of enrollment at the elementary level of approximately 25 students. As of today, 264 pre-kindergarten students are registered to attend the district's full-day pre-kindergarten program in September. While the district will receive grant funding for approximately $1.1 million, the cost to educate 264 pre-kindergarten students is approximately $1.9 million. The difference, approximately $800,000, is paid for out of the district's budget. The district recognizes the educational value of providing pre-kindergarten and currently differs from surrounding districts by providing services to all students registered by the deadline, as opposed to capping the number of registrants. West Islip, along with countless school districts across New York State, is experiencing unprecedented budget constraints due to a variety of factors outlined earlier by Dr. Romanelli and Mrs. Pilati. While the current budget cycle commenced with a significant deficit, as Mrs. Pilati mentioned, central office, along with district administrators, has worked diligently to reduce the gap, while at the same time limiting, to the extent possible, impact to our instructional and extracurricular programs. During this process, all areas of the district were closely reviewed. Difficult decisions on budget reductions have been made based on that review and through the lens of sustaining the rich academic, athletic, fine arts, and extracurricular programs that have been cultivated in West Islip over the years and that set us apart from other districts. The information about to be shared is of a sensitive nature, as it includes the accessing of positions, information related to delaying district initiatives, and the absorption of the majority of our June 2024 retirees. Be assured that while we remain focused on the district's long-term vision of preparing students for the world beyond high school, we will continue to work as a team to close the gaps and support impacted staff through this difficult time. West Islip has faced challenges in the past and emerged stronger. This time will be no different. As of today, we anticipate the following budget impacts for the 24-25 school year. 8 teachers submitted their intent to retire at the conclusion of the current school year. Upon careful review of a variety of factors, including enrollment, we were able to absorb and not replace 5 of the 8 positions. The 5 positions not being replaced are 1 art teacher, 1 English teacher, 1 physical education teacher, 1 science teacher, and 1 social worker. Health aides were put in place during the pandemic to support building principals and school nurses in complying with the processes and procedures necessary to keep schools open. Health aides district-wide will be eliminated for next school year. Elementary library aides and 1 library aide from the high school will be eliminated, as well as security aides at the elementary and middle schools. In addition, 2 computer teacher assistants at the elementary level and 1 computer teaching assistant at the middle school level will be eliminated. Restructuring plans are in progress to ensure minimal impact to buildings and, most importantly, students. Each elementary school currently houses 2 sections of pre-kindergarten for a total of 8 sections and 160 students. Due to a slight increase in enrollment at the elementary level and classroom space required for special education classes, 2 pre-kindergarten classrooms, one from Manitowoc and one from Paul J. Ballou, will be relocated to South Shore Children's Center for the 24-25 school year. This will lead to the reduction of 2 pre-K aides and 2 pre-K teacher assistants for next school year. The reallocation of the 2 pre-kindergarten classes, the relocation of the 2 pre-kindergarten classes impacts the pre-kindergarten placement process. Information in regards to the pre-kindergarten placement process will be shared with the community at the conclusion of the budget process at the end of April. Middle school library media centers will be restructured to operate with 1 library media specialist shared between 2 buildings with a full-time aide at each building. For 20 years, the alternative high school has provided 11th and 12th grade students unable to meet with success in the typical school setting with the opportunity to graduate. Since its inception, approximately 200 students who may not have otherwise received IA school diploma graduated from the district. For the 24-25 school year, the alt school will be reduced by 6 sections and transportation will be eliminated. Summer school for students in grades 9 through 12 and the middle school summer academy will be eliminated for the current school year. Students and parents that would like to take advantage of summer school opportunities will be provided at the end of the school year with options offered by other districts and/or BOCES at the expense of the parents and students. Earlier this year, the Elementary Curriculum Review Committee work evidenced that a core curriculum literacy program for K-5 students that aligns with the science of reading would be the next step in continuing the enhancements made to the elementary literacy instruction in the district. This would require significant funds for the purchase of new materials for all K-5 classrooms and professional development for all teachers. The implementation initiative will be put on hold for the upcoming school year, but the district will move forward with piloting new programs in our K-5 classrooms starting in September. We will also continue to educate teachers about the science of reading and the instructional practices that support it. In order to reduce IT costs, as Mrs. Pilati alluded to at the beginning of the program, the district is going to finance the replacement of one-to-one devices through a 4-year BOCES financing plan. This allows the district to maintain the replenishment cycle while reducing the upfront costs to the budget. The district maintains instructional and non-instructional equipment, such as desks, chairs, student work tables, etc., via a yearly replenishment cycle. This ensures the cost of maintaining equipment throughout the district is spread out over years and doesn't come all at once. Due to prior planning, we are able to reduce the purchase of new equipment for the upcoming school year, as every building in the district has been updating such over the past years. This evening, the areas of curriculum and instruction displayed on the screen before you will be overviewed by the district's administrative team. Before we begin, I would like to thank and acknowledge the administrative team for their assistance in putting this presentation together and for being here this evening. This work could not be done without them. We have been spending a lot of time meeting, talking, discussing how we can work our way through this, and I would just like to give a big thank you and shout out to our administrative team. And without any further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Tim Horan, Director of Physical Education, Health, Athletics, and Recreation.
Good evening. We are excited to continue providing a sequential, comprehensive, quality physical education and health education program in a very inspiring environment with caring staff members. In terms of the health and phys ed budget, it includes the replenishment of basic supplies and equipment, basketballs, volleyballs, footballs, Nerf balls, everything to provide a quality experience for our students, K through 12. Some Project Venture gear to expand our program at the middle school and at the high school under the leadership of Mr. Yulee, who provides a great, safe environment where students feel comfortable stepping out of their comfort zones. And it's a great program. Some mats, health class supplies, continuation of our Health Smart curriculum at our elementary schools, Ready or Not Tots that always generate a lot of conversations at our high school level between families and their children. And I know everyone is very excited. The students are always very excited to approach our Family Life unit and some fitness center accessories to complement our beautiful fitness center at the high school. Moving forward to athletics and extracurricular activities, which provide a great tool for us for students to navigate adolescence, to become successful young adults through our 92 athletic teams, which we're excited will be continuing and moving forward, as well as continuation of some intramurals, our Final Forms, which has been a seamless implementation over the years. The toughest part about it seems to be just, as parents, remembering our password to the unit. When you do it, you maybe use it 3 times a year. Continuation of our streaming programs, some individual sport-specific pieces of equipment. In addition, the NFHS is requiring shot clocks moving forward for our boys lacrosse, and the girls lacrosse are also looking to get that approved at the NFH level, at the national level, and then some replenishment of our basic supplies so we can continue providing a priceless experience and memorable experience for our student athletes and our families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perrin. I'd now like to invite up Mr. Jim Gilmartin, Director of Social Studies and Coordinator of the International Baccalaureate Program.
Good evening. As a department, we are very pleased with our success and our growth amidst the change of the New York State Standards and Regents exams. This coming school year within the budget, we are looking to continue to replenish some textbooks in areas where the curriculum has changed. In the area of elementary school, we're looking to once again renew our Putnam County Westchester subscription for resources in ELA and social studies, and to supplement our K through 5 nonfiction text to support the district initiative of standard-based grading. We are also looking to continue to grow our resources due to the changes in the New York State Regents exams in 10th and 11th grade to move to a digital resource now that they are more available due to the test is now 1 year past. We are also looking to support district initiative of the Seal of Civic Readiness within our high school and as well in the middle school and 8th grade. And lastly, we are piloting a program from Brown University, which deals with teaching social studies through inquiry and investigation. In the area of IB, IB does not have, per se, a curriculum budget. The rigors of IB, as you can see, of taking 3 HL and 3 SL classes and achieving a score of 24, all of those rigors remain the same. And throughout the night, you will hear that the resources, the educational resources, are met within each discipline and each department as per any changes in IB. And the learner profile, which is the characteristics of IB that are embedded within the program, align with what the district's profile of the graduate are as well. So we're happy with the coordination of the two.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmartin. Do you want to take your notes with you? At this time, I'd like to invite up Dr. James Grover, who is going to speak with us about math, business education, and family and consumer sciences.
Thank you, Mrs. Morrison. Good evening. In elementary math, we will continue to utilize the Reveal Math consumable books for every student in the district, teacher additions, assessments, differentiation, and teacher training, and this includes online access for all of our teachers and students. For online learning programs, we utilize 3 main programs for elementary math. ST Math, which is all about curiosity and exploration of math for our students. And then Reflex Math, which is more about the drill and skill, and then IXL, which is standards-based as well. In addition, we will continue to invest in hands-on manipulatives such as counters, connecting cubes, 10 frames, different shapes, fraction tiles, etc., that really help bring math to life for our littlest ones. In secondary math, we will continue to utilize the consumable eMath instruction books, which are aligned to the next generation standards for our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students in middle school, as well as our Algebra 1 students, Geometry, and Algebra 2. We are very happy to support our students with loaner calculators that the majority of our students do utilize, and we have rechargeable lithium battery TI-84 calculators, which help students with the majority of functions and statistics with their calculators. They can use them on the Regents exam as well. We have 2 new courses that we are introducing to the high school math catalog next year. Math for Trades, which will be in alignment with our CTE vision. This will be for students that might be interested in being an electrician or welding, and the math problem solving will be tailored to those types of industries. We also will adopt AP Pre-Calculus, which will be replacing our previous honors level pre-calculus. We will continue to support our 2 math coaches, one at Beach and one at Udall. This was their first year, and they've been a terrific addition to the district for intervention and coaching. And in the high school, our MTSS math groups will continue as well. Those are small group instruction for students. Our digital tools, we have a plethora of them, but the go-to tools are such as GimKit, CodeHS, which is a computer science program, which we use for our AP computer science classes. And Desmos is a dynamic online calculator. Data Classroom is a statistics program. Our extracurriculars in secondary math include the Math Honor Society, which is in its 2nd year, and Mathletes, which we run at both the middle school and high school level. In business education, we're very excited to continue supporting the virtual enterprise class. This year and next year, we will have 3 startup groups. Those are businesses that are started from the ground up by students who learn from a very hands-on experience. They attend trade shows and they interact with others around the country. We have college-level courses in marketing, business law, accounting, and sports management through Long Island University and Farmingdale. Experiences in real-life businesses also include trips, and we are happy to send our students to MetLife Stadium, Citi Field, Madison Square Garden, the Arizona Iced Tea Factory, district courts, as well as invite guest speakers to come in. Digital tools in business include EDU typing in the middle school, virtual job shadow, Naviance, and marketing and social media simulations. We're very excited to collaborate with the Makerspace, and we look forward to continuing that partnership. And we look forward to continuing support for our college freshman seminar class, as well as the career and financial management class. In middle school, we are happy to support our computer essential programs in both middle schools, and the extracurriculars in business ed include FBLA, DECA, our Business Marketing Honor Society, as well as the high school store. And finally, in family and consumer sciences, we will continue to support with resources for our Little Lions preschool program at West Islip High School, as well as supplies for culinary arts and Building Your Tomorrow courses in the middle school, which include Introduction to Kitchen Safety, Cooking, and Career Explorations, as well as makerspace activities and supplies. Thank you.
Dr. Grover. I'd like to invite Ms. Renee Bandies up, and she is going to speak with us about science and engineering technology.
Thank you. At the elementary level, we will be continuing to use our STEM labs to do all the STEM activities and implement the new New York State investigations that need to be done. We will also be implementing computer science standards and new technology techniques in those STEM labs. We will also be hosting the first STEM night for the elementary students at the high school this year. And through volunteers, we have been lucky enough to pilot a literacy-based science program that has hands-on activities at the elementary level. We're continuing to pilot that next year with some more volunteers coming forward every day. At the middle school and high school level, we will have continued utilization of advanced equipment like 3D printers. We will have continued innovative biotechnology labs for 8th grade research and higher level biology labs. We will continue to have collaboration between the middle school and high school. This year we had the middle school research students actually come up and they were able to work with the high school students in the research lab, and we want to continue doing some more of that next year. We will have continued integration of new technology in the physics and chemistry labs, such as coding sensors for data collection. The research programs will continue. The students will continue to work with Brookhaven National Lab through the SPARK program. Right now, the students are working on collaborating with other schools on microplastics. They're actually going to be doing a video, and that will be on Brookhaven National Lab's website on Earth Day. The research students are preparing to share their research at our annual STEM Research Symposium, if anybody's around for that, June 5th at 5:30. We will also have collaborative projects that we'll be working on, that we've worked on in the past, A Day in the Life of the River, where students in a bunch of different classes and programs at the high school work with environmental professionals and other schools to monitor our waterways on Long Island. And we will continue working on participating in various science competitions as we've done in the past. As far as our technology department goes, our CTE courses that we will be implementing are, the automotive program has already been running, so we're just going to be taking that program and now offering it as a CTE certification. The new courses that we will be putting in will be the welding courses and the precision machining courses, which will run over a 2-year program as well, and students will also be able to receive CTE certification and be able to do all that in-house instead of sending them out to BOCES. So those seniors will be able to do senior activities, students will be able to participate in extracurricular activities. It'll be really nice to be able to keep them in-house. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bandy. Next up is Ms. Dana Musso. She is our Director of Foundational Literacy K-5, Reading K-8, and MTSS K-12.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We'll start with English Language Arts, ELA, at the elementary level. So that what was mentioned earlier was that within the last 2 years at the district, we've really embraced the science of reading research, and we've made great progress in our primary classrooms by adopting some programs such as Heggerty for phonemic awareness and Foundations for phonics and spelling, and that's been really successful. So part of our budget for next school year is to make sure that our students have all the workbooks and consumable materials to keep that going, especially as we expand that program up through grade 3. Another ongoing kind of goal is to update our classroom library so students have access to a variety of books within the classroom to practice their reading skills. What's really important when you have a structured systematic phonics program is that we have the quotable texts in our classrooms that are matched to the scope and sequence of our instruction. So students can apply those skills in real books and develop a love of reading, of course. So we want to continue to grow our classroom libraries. Part of the Foundations materials also have manipulative. It's a multi-sensory program. So we have many of that now. We wanted to make sure that we can replace anything that's been beloved over the past few years. As Ms. Morrison mentioned earlier, we have a district-wide committee comprised of administrators, specialists, and teachers, and we're making some really important decisions about the ongoing steps for a more comprehensive literacy program. So the 2 programs I mentioned are for foundational skills, but that's not the whole picture. So we still want to focus on all grades, pre-K to grade 5, and make sure we can provide really research-based instruction for writing, comprehension, vocabulary, knowledge building, and so on. And lastly, what's really important, programs are great, but what we believe is really important is the collective knowledge of our educators. So we'll be continuing for any program that we adopt to have really high-quality professional development and really focusing in on a common understanding of what the science of reading research means. For our reading program, K-8, We want to make sure that we can continue to use our research-based intervention programs such as Wilson Reading System, Wilson Just Words, and Foundations. We also would like to explore additional research-based intervention programs for other specific areas of need for our students. So we want to see what else is out there because we'd like to eventually have like a menu of sorts of different interventions to back to our students. Similar to our classroom teachers for ELA, we want to make sure that we continue with our reading department to professionally grow and learn more about current research. And we want to make sure that we have all the materials we need to assess and have some diagnostic tools to see where students may struggle. And lastly, for our MTSS, our multi-tiered system of support for grades K through 12, I believe it was last year we were awarded a grant through the New York State Education Department where we get a committed consultant who's been working with our administrators and with building specific MTSS teams. This year we've been focusing on our three-tiered system of supports and our framework for behavior and social emotional learning needs. And next year we'll continue learning and getting some feedback and learning how to self-assess our system in the area of literacy. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Musso. At this time, I'd like to invite up Mrs. Lauren Lay, our Director of Secondary English and ENL and Library Media Centers K-12.
Good evening. For ELA, this year we began piloting Quill Grammar at the middle schools. Quill's tools provide practice with grammar conventions, combining sentences, and proofreading passages, all of which can be done through individual or whole group instruction. We are continuing book clubs in grades 6 through 12 for the next school year. Book clubs allow for student choice and provide students with multiple opportunities to engage in academic conversation. In addition, we will be replacing damaged materials, and we will continue to do professional development to work on student collaboration. In the area of ENL, the ENL department will continue to provide fun and informative family events to help engage our families with the school community. We are continuing to implement an integrated model for all L's in grades K through 12. This model allows for ENL teachers to push into core classes or to have a dual certified teacher teaching our L's within the general education classroom. We are also purchasing additional workbooks for our newcomer students and providing them with Time Kettle translating earbuds to assist them in their classes. These earbuds will translate the conversations going on in the classroom to the students' native language. L students will also continue to be a part of the Summer Investigations program. For our library media centers this year, both middle schools have participated in the One Book, One School initiative using the one and only Ivan. Students have engaged in cross-curricular activities to help learn about the various themes found in the book. We have also had assemblies, raffles, and contests to help promote a strong reading community. Both middle school libraries are also undergoing genreification, which is a classifying system that makes it easier for students to browse the library collection. All libraries K through 12 are replacing and replenishing supplies in the library and the makerspace areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lay. Next up, I would like to introduce Mrs. Jean Dallin, Director of Special Education.
Thank you. Good evening. On Beds Day of each school year, our enrollment and classification data are captured for reporting purposes for the New York State Education Department. For the school year 2022-23, we had a total number of classified students on that Beds Day of 736. We are currently enrolled at our school age with 755 students. That's with the largest increase of students noted at the elementary level. The rising needs of our students are addressed in this submitted proposed budget. Our total budget, as stated in your backup, encompasses all the noted students from kindergarten until the day before a child turns 22 of age unless they have achieved their diploma or designated credential. Over the past 4 years, we have noticed a significant increase in the number of preschool students with a disability. When these students enter our kindergarten programs, we have also noticed that the deficits are notable in speech and language, and social emotional needs are among our students' highest, social emotional issues or deficits are among our highest needs. To address the rising needs of our students, we have included into our budget an additional speech language therapist and a BCBA or a board-certified behavior analyst. As discussed in previous slides, to address the rising needs of our students, and due to the addition this school year that happened in August of an 8-1 section of kindergarten at Paul J. Blue Elementary School, we are in need of that BCBA speech language therapist to meet the mandated needs of those students, but not only in that 8-1 class, but also district-wide as well. The district is looking to hire a BCBA to reduce the reliance we have on a third-party service provider and to have more efficient use of the provider's time that is spent in our classrooms. We continue to educate our students in private placements, BOCES, and we do provide nurses when medically necessary as documented on the Children's Individualized Education Plan, or IEP. This past January, we successfully partnered with PM Pediatrics to identify and support our students at the elementary and middle school level that are experiencing mental health crisis. Our social workers, our psychologists, and our counselors call PM Pediatrics crisis line, and an appointment is made typically within that same day. The appointment is made with a crisis specialist for a comprehensive crisis evaluation. If necessary, a treatment plan for ongoing care is made in conjunction with the parents. To date, 14 students and families have successfully used this service. The estimated state aid reimbursement for this service is 15%. As we've been discussing for the past just shy of a year, our partnership with the ESS program, which is completely grant funded, is proposed to continue for the 24-25 school year, but I wanted to highlight the positive takes from that. This partnership, as I stated, was just started about a year ago. ESS has provided 1,493 sessions with one of their certified mental health counselors, and this number includes 154 family sessions that occur outside of the school day. We estimate that this time that these interventions have maintained 5 students in our own high school and has helped us to avoid a more restricted placement, such as BOCES or a residential program. We continue to work with our community to support our students in with our work study opportunities to increase the chance of employability, specifically for our life skills students. Our ongoing mental health professional development will continue with ESS and PM Pediatrics, which offer us no-cost opportunities for PD. Our targeted focus for our in-house professional development will be centered around specially designed instruction as well as integrated co-teaching. And as always, we will continue to provide the full continuum of services as aligned with state and federal regulations as we continually strive to keep our students in the least restrictive learning environments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dowling. Next up is the Art and Music Departments. Mr. Allbinder could not be here this evening as he is currently at the high school working to prepare for this week's high school musical Anastasia, so I will be speaking on behalf of the Art and Music Departments. West Isop's art and music programs continue to remain among the best in the state. All current music and art programs are maintained in the upcoming budget. Included are software subscriptions that will provide K-12 students, not so great with this clicker, K-12 students with authentic hands-on activities, practice and recording sessions, and exposure to countless music concepts. The replacement of such things as strings and bows, sheet music, materials for art experiences K-12, and professional development opportunities are also included. In addition, student participation fees for art and music competitions and events and upgrades to the instructional software for the graphic design advertising classes at the high school are also included in the budget. These programs are utilized by students both in school and at home on their one-to-one devices. All equipment and supplies related to music and art are on a replenishment cycle to ensure effective learning experiences and up-to-date equipment, instruments, and supplies for our students and staff. I'd like to welcome up Mr. Justin Arini, who's going to talk about school counseling.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening. So our school counselors are academic, social, emotional, and post-secondary experts, and they work with students from the kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. We're very fortunate that we have counselors at all 3 levels, elementary, middle, and high school. We have 6 at the high school, 2 in each of our middle school buildings, and then we have 2 school counselors that share all 4 buildings, and they do really wonderful work. So all of our counselors will be continuing the great programs that they are a part of. A lot of what they do is to help build character, education programs, and culture in the buildings. So whether that's bringing in groups to meet with our students, whether it's mindfulness activities, whether it is a building-wide event like Wellness Day, or a special celebration to celebrate college awareness, our school counselors are constantly building programs to help support the capacity of our students. Programs like Naviance, Passport for Good, Panorama, these are all different web-based programs that we use to help support the counseling that we do with our students. And all of the great programs that they've been a part of this year, we expect to bring all of them back next year and continue to support our kiddos.
Thank you, Mr. Arini. Next up is Ms. Elise Patty, who is going to speak with us about world languages.
Good evening, everyone. We're proudly developing global citizens each day to enter our global economy. To that end, we'll continue to build on that next year as we purchase digital and supplemental materials to support our language acquisition. Additionally, we will continue to support students in their acceptance into one of our World Language Honor Societies, as well as their pursuit of the New York State Seal of Biliteracy. As we celebrate World Language Month, I was going to call it a week, but we now have a month, World Language Month, I would invite you to check out the joint decorating efforts of the World Language Honor Society, as well as our English language learners at the high school. It actually looks beautiful in there. These 2 departments are also collaborating on the annual International Fair, which will be held at Udall Road Middle School on March 22nd. We look forward to continuing to support our world language programs in the coming school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patty. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Patrick Kiley-Rendon, Executive Director for Technology and Innovation.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Good evening. So, planning for next year, we would like to continue replenishing our smart boards, making sure that we're replacing ones that start to act up. We always like to have at least one standing by so that downtime in the classroom is never that long. Replacement of our one-to-one devices for kindergarten, 2nd grade, and 9th grade. We generally try to go for 2nd grade, 6th grade, and 9th grade, as was the case this year. Our kindergarten iPads are now over 5 years old and ready for replacement, and our rising 6th graders have devices that are just under 2 years old and can last a little bit longer. So we're going to be going for kindergarten, 2nd grade, and 9th grade. This also includes insurance and maintenance for those devices. There are cybersecurity initiatives and the NIST framework that New York State requires us to follow. So we've budgeted for external audits of some of our systems just to make sure that we're doing everything we can do to protect student data. The instructional platforms that you heard tonight are all renewed through the Instructional Technology Office, as well as planning for addressing the computer science and digital fluency standards, which are going to be expected statewide starting in September in all schools, kindergarten through 12th grade. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kiley-Rendon. Some important information and upcoming dates are displayed on the screen before you. For the 24-25 school year, we will have 2 board trustee seats open. The nominating petitions for those seats were made available at district office on March 4th. The next 3 budget work sessions will take place on March 12th, March 26th and April 11th here at the Beach Street Auditorium. We will be discussing buildings and grounds and school safety on March 26th and revenue and state aid on April 11th. The adoption of the budget will take place on April 16th. Nominating positions for the board trustee seats are due to district office by April 22nd. A public budget hearing will take place on May 7th, and of course, the most important date is the budget vote taking place on May 21st at West Islip High School between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m. Now, to be honest, I did reference ChatGPT for my concluding remarks this evening, but no matter the combination of words I put in, it just didn't work out for me. So I went back and reflected on the conclusion of a budget presentation presented several years ago that started with the simple question, why do we do what we do here in West Islip? And despite the passage of time, the answer remains the same, for the future of our children. According to Herbert Hoover, children are our most valuable resource and hope for the future. According to John F. Kennedy, children are the living messages that we send to a time that we do not see. As I visit the classrooms throughout the school district, the quotes make me wonder, is the kindergarten student exploring with an iPad going to be the next Steve Jobs? Is a student in our high school research class going to develop the cure for cancer? Is the middle school musician practicing on the stage going to play at Carnegie Hall? Which of our athletes will be the next Tom Brady? Here in West Islip, anything is possible. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Romanelli and the Board of Education for their leadership and commitment to the district's ongoing success. While the next several months will not be easy, West Islip will do what it has always done in the face of adversity: support one another and come back stronger than ever. Let's make 2024-2025 the best year yet for our students. Thank you for joining us this evening. The presentation will be available on the district website tomorrow morning.
So at this time, if the board has any comments or questions, we can take those.
Yeah, I know a couple of my colleagues have some questions. I just want to say that to everyone that's here tonight, the entire board understands the gravity of the decisions that we're faced with. While we know these choices are never easy, please understand that our commitment remains the same in ensuring that our students receive the best possible education. We will continue to approach this challenge with transparency, empathy, and a focus on prioritizing the well-being and academic success of our students. Together, like Ms. Morrison said, we'll navigate these tough times with resilience, creativity, and again, we'll all continue with our shared decision-making for the future of our school community. You know, I'm sitting up here tonight, part of me wants to vomit with some of what was said, and then the other part of me is just beaming with pride. It's difficult times. I think everything that we're faced with as homeowners in terms of inflation and how it's hitting our wallets at home, it's now hitting the schools as well. So I trust that this board and that this administration will continue to put its best foot forward and continue to do what's best for everybody involved. So that's really all I want to say about that. I know you guys have some questions you'd like to ask. So please.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming. First of all, Dr. Romanelli, administrative staff, Lisa, Dawn, and all of the administrative staff and public for being here tonight. You know, this is one of those times, if you see me speak at PTA meetings, I always profess, come to the budget meetings. That's when all of the decisions, a lot of the decisions are made for the next year's, you know, what's going to happen next year. And it's true, I came here as a parent. I remember when they started talking about the pre-K program, it was kind of an inkling of an idea coming from one of these budget meetings. And now look, we have one of the only fully funded programs from the community that accepts every student for a full-day pre-K program. Very well needed, having 3 kids of my own, it's just a great program to have. So it's from these budget meetings that comes. So well, I'd like to just start by saying, you know, to Mr. Tussey's point, we do have some really unprecedented cost increases across the spectrum of all of our increases. benefits, transportation, everything is up, as we know in our personal lives. The beauty of what West Islip has done, probably over the last 10 years, mostly before this board was here and started, is I just want to give a little bit of a synopsis of our reserve budgets, or our reserve dollars that are in the budget. About a year and a half ago, Newsday came out with an article that was kind of negative on why West Islip had reserves as the levels that we had. We then had a meeting and proved out that these are all not only within the legal limits, but they were justifiable reserves to have. Well, I proclaim to you today is these are the times why you have reserves in your budget, because you want to make sure that you are ready for those unprecedented times. And thankfully we are. Will it last forever, these high inflation rates? Hopefully not. Will our reserves last forever? No. But we're in a really good spot because of the work that was done for years and years here. So our main investments that we made, just as a reminder to everyone in the room, over the last 4 or 5 years, we made substantial investments to our reading programs, our special ed programs, bringing back Integrated into Beach Street, continuing that. Again, our pre-K program, a new program as of a couple of years ago, to Mrs. Morrison, a couple of $1 million spent on that program a year, totally worth it because it's really what the children need. We've added counselors and mental health programs. We saw that through the COVID years. We've expanded our CTE and vocational programs. Part of if you hear me speak about preparing students for what comes next in life. Sometimes it's not always college, and we do have the programs to lead them into career paths, whether it's in education and welding and technology and business that other schools just don't have. We toured for about a year looking at different vocational programs, and I can say we have some of the best programs here in West Islip, and we expanded that over the years. Our clubs and activities, probably the largest amount of clubs and activities that we have as a district since I've been here, and I've been here involved with the district since 1975, so the largest number of clubs and activities. These are all the investments that we've made over the last couple of years, and I'm proud to say this budget doesn't touch any of those. For all of the hardship that this budget may bring to some positions, and I'll say positions, not people, positions, there's going to be potential realignment. Today is a workshop about the discussion. We don't know what the final budget looks like, mainly because the state doesn't give us the final numbers yet. So none of this is set in stone. All of this is up for discussion. But I can tell you, all the investments that we just made, none of the investments that we made are up for any kind of adjustments, which is great. So we invested all this money, we've got great programs, and we've got reserves to help us out with all of this. As Mrs. Morrison said, all current programs within the school year are maintained. All current programs within the school year are maintained. And we're expanding services. If you look at what we're doing on our first slide, expanding services. Speech teachers, ENL, again, additional CTE courses, 7th grade integrated. And we've got increased enrollment at the elementary. Even with all that, we're adding these. We do have some realignments that's being talked about tonight. I know we have some questions as a board of that. Some of these positions, and again, they are positions. What being in the business world, we talk about what in this world, in this labor market that we're in now. Every business like the ones I'm involved with, we budgeted for positions. The reality is some of these positions we can't even fill because the labor market is tight. Some of the aides positions that are on for discussion here, some of them, we had about 24 people turnover last year in those positions. Some of them are just not filled and can't be filled so that's what we're taking a look at. Not to eliminate people, to eliminate positions and maybe reposition some of the people in their tasks. We want to make sure that, again, those services, direct services to any student is affected by what's going to be discussed in this budget ongoing. A little bit on the reserves, again, a little quick history on the reserves. The financial collapse of 2008 put a lot of people across the board in pretty dire straits. In 2012, we had an audit which said we had no reserves. We were in a really bad fiscal shape. If this happened in 2012, we would be talking about kind of catastrophe events that would involve teachers and buildings and all that. We didn't. We had the hindsight or foresight back then to say, we've got to make sure that we are fiscally stronger, and we are. We're in the most fiscal strong shape probably of any district on the island, thanks to the work of everybody in this room. And what I want to say to that is, we have a reserve balance. We're talking about tapping tapping into a small percentage, probably less than 14% of what's currently in there to maintain the structure and all the investments that we made. So that's what we're really discussing tonight. There are some decisions that will be made over the next couple of weeks, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear the discussion of what you have as well as the other board members, because we don't want students affected. And this budget, what's being talked about tonight, doesn't include any of that. So thanks to the community for being here tonight, and we really want to hear from you.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to say quickly, last year I was sitting out there where you are, and I know from what I've seen in the last year, I just want to thank the administrators, especially Mrs. Pilati, and all of the teachers and administrators who have done a lot of work on the budget. And what I've seen so far with their ability to reorganize, restructure, and be creative is really minimizing the impact to our students. Many of us have been at several legislative meetings over the last couple of weeks, and they really have bipartisan support. Last night, I know both the Assembly and the Senate put out their proposed budgets, which are expected to be adopted, and they are proposing that the Save Harmless cuts go back, and they're also going to invest $1 million into the foundational aid formula, because we get through this year and it's still going to be an issue next year and the year after. So that's good that they're going to start the research now so that gets going. I have a couple of questions about what was presented tonight. I'm not exactly sure who can answer them, but I'll just kind of bring them up. And the first is about the alternative high school. I think everybody appreciates what the alternative high school does for the kids. And my questions were with losing six sessions of that. Is that a loss of student opportunity to be in the alternative high school, or is that just kind of condensing more kids into a class? And also regarding taking away the transportation, is there a point where we'll reach out to the parents and see if losing the transportation will actually prevent anybody from attending?
Sure. So the reduction of the 6 sections is mostly combining classes together and raising the enrollment in the courses. Will there be some courses that we won't be able to offer with that reduction? Yes, but we would look to encourage students to go to summer school or pursue some type of opportunity to get credit if they needed it. In regard to transportation, just speaking from my experience as the former coordinator of the alt school, the majority of the students don't end up taking the transportation anyway. There were a lot of days and nights where that bus would come and that bus would go, and students wouldn't be on it. So I think we would take that as it went, and if there were, certain individual circumstances where, students had trouble, we would look to see what we can do to support that. I don't see it being a major issue for the students at transportation.
Great, that's good news, thank you.
Do we know how, I'm losing my voice, so I apologize. Do we know how many students will be able to take in the alt program?
So each year we start the alt school program off at the beginning of the year with a lower number. We're usually between 12 and 15 students. As the year progresses and students are met with challenges in the day school, they enroll in the high school, in the alt school. So we have been upwards of 30 students at the alternative school some years. Right now we're a little bit over 20.
And do we know how many will be able to hold the maximum in the upcoming year?
I don't see any reason why we wouldn't continue to be able to support the numbers that we have been supporting.
Thank you.
Okay, I have 2 more questions, sorry. When you say we're cutting out the security aides, that's not a security guard, right? And what kind of role does a security aide play?
So in each of our buildings, we currently have security guards that sit by the front door and answer when parents and visitors enter the buildings. In the past, way back when, though that type of responsibility would be on the main office staff in the buildings, with 2 security guards now in each of the buildings, We do feel confident that we will be able to manage the visitors and parents and guardians coming in and out of the buildings between the security guard just announcing maybe to the main office who is here, and then the main office clerical taking it from there as we have done in the past.
Okay, thank you. And the last question is, with the delayed implementation of the new literacy program, can you talk a little bit more about that, what that is, and are we still rolling out programs to the kids that you mentioned piloting, but we're just delaying a full program implementation? If you could just explain that a little bit more, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So the full program implementation was going to cost approximately $500,000 for the upcoming school year between supplies, materials, and professional development. So what we are going to do is, rather than go full implementation, we're going to pilot the programs, really give our teachers a year to see what they're comfortable with, and look to start that implementation the following year. We are continuing with our elementary literacy initiatives by moving foundations into 3rd grade, which we're really happy about. We're already seeing great results and progress in our MTSS data from the implementation of Foundations program over the last few years. We'll also continue to keep the science of reading and its practices at the forefront of professional development and expectations of what we're seeing in the classroom.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
I just have a quick question. It says summer school and middle school academic will be cut. Is that the same as extended school year for special education students, or is that different? Because I know it's very important.
No, it is not. Extended school year is slated to run, as is the summer investigations program for elementary school students.
And if there's kids in need of summer school, how do we handle that?
We will provide information to parents and students at the end of the year where summer school opportunities are available in possibly surrounding districts or BOCES.
Thank you.
And then, sorry, I just want to know about transportation for those people that have to attend summer school. Like, if they can't, then what's the alternative? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if, there are a lot of people that do work in the summertime as well that may not be able to provide transportation.
That's a really great question. We always provide opportunities for students to retain courses here at the high school, the following year. So any student that needed to attend summer school that was not able to do so would be able to take the class again in the high school next year.
I'm going to ask if there's anyone in the audience who has any comments they'd like to make. I guess, I don't want to project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, a couple questions. So, first off, I'd like to know if there's an older sibling in the
Let me hold on 1 second. I forgot we had the podium here. Would you like to come down and use the podium? Would that make it easier for you?
So, first off, I'd like to know if you have an older sibling in the district. If it was told before that in PK would kind of automatically get placed into their districts. Is that still the case?
Yeah, sure.
That's still our intention. We have, like we said, there are going to be some restructuring in our homeschool buildings. So the thought is that our sections at Manatuck and Paul J. Ballou, which are our two most crowded ever elementary schools, would move to South Shore. So there would only be one section in each of those buildings, but if there was an older sibling, and we had the space available for students in that building, we would still honor that.
So you're talking about only 20 kids though?
That's correct.
So the other teacher is moving to South Shore and they will teach there?
So we have 2 elementary retirements this year at the elementary level. There's a lot that goes into it in terms of placement, in terms of seniority lists and things like that. But 2 of our pre-K teachers would move into the K through 5 area within the district. So everyone would still have positions, and there would be 2 positions that would go over to South Shore, which South Shore would take the lead on those 2 classes.
We do run parallel curriculums with South Shore Children's Center. They do what we do here in our classrooms, including Foundation and Haggerty.
So they could fall under a mental teacher at South Shore, or would it? No.
And so the South Shore program is fully run by South Shore, so there would be no West Islip teachers at that program.
Do you plan on cutting PK completely in the future?
Our goal is not to. We put a lot of work and a lot of effort into this program, and it's building, and we want to continue with that. This is awful. So, you know, I can't speak for what the future holds, but if I had to answer that question right now, our goal is not to cut that program.
So as of right now, everything, this is so, okay, what about this? So as of right now, like, I'm not tough. So you're keeping one teacher, the other's leaving, and then we are just having 20 kids in that one district. Priority goes to if you have an older sibling in the district, and then there will be an overflow, or that's the case?
The overflow is what would go to
South Shore, that would still stay the same.
Listen, obviously, it's definitely going to be an inconvenience for some people. We get that. But on the other hand, we also look at it as the district, we are still providing the pre-K program, which is, you know, something we want to be able to do. I mean, I'm not the one being inconvenienced, so it's easy for me to say that from this position, but we are aware of the inconvenience factor.
Now, as part of the security part of it, we just fought for armed guards, and now you're taking away our first line of defense. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to me.
We're actually putting...
I'm speaking about, you know, the ladies that are in charge of the vestibules. Who will replace them?
The security guard, we will have a school security guard.
For example, Manitowoc has 2 security guards. Do you think 2 security guards running the entire school is sufficient?
Well, I don't think the security is running the school. I think the administration and the teachers are there, and it's definitely a team effort. But yes, we do believe, and we're comfortable speaking with Sean McAlevey, our director of school security, that having 1 security guard at the desk and one roaming the building is sufficient.
Yeah, and I just want to just talk to that, like a general statement about restructuring. You know, we have, on this list, we have health office aides, we have security aides, we have a number of different positions listed. You know, the intention is not to leave a space high and dry or leave people high and dry. There are going to have to be conversations coming up in the next few weeks, leading up into the next school year, about what does our existing staffing look like at the building? You know, how many aides do we have at the building? What are roles are going to start to look a little bit different? You know, so while we're talking about cutting of health office aides and security aides, there may still be staff in the building that are able to support those spaces, but it just looks different. You know, we have our 2 security guards in each of our buildings, so we may have 1 security guard at the front desk and 1 security guard circulating. Maybe there's a time of the day where we do have an aide staffing that space. So we're going to look at each building, and we're going to look at that to be equitable.
Well, the problem is, it's not only going to look different, it's going to feel different. You know, you walk into a school district, you have someone that knows every kid's name, every parent's name. That's invaluable. You can't pay for that. I mean, as parents, we feel safe. Kids feel safe that they're there. You go to the vestibule, it's the same person every time, and that makes you feel safe. I mean, the guards, they do a great job. I'm not saying anything against them either, but I think that they should not, that should not be one of their roles. Their role should be what they're doing now. They should be, you know, roaming the schools and making sure everything's okay. And you should also have that first line of defense like we've spoken about over the years. And, you know, you can't pay for that, you know. The kids, they know the face. They walk in, they're happily going into the school. You know, that's something that really should be discussed.
I'm pretty confident that everyone here probably agrees with that statement, which is why we have these workshops so that we can continue to have these discussions. And we will continue to talk about the situation, and we'll see how we can continue to move forward so that, like you said, everyone does feel safe and secure. Our children, parents, 100%. I get it.
You know, you talk about that we're increasing in numbers. Kind of a shame that UPK kind of gets cut in a way.
So UPK is not being cut at all. We're offering UPK to every
Just like if I'm talking for losing one.
UPK is being offered to every student at this time in the district full-time. We're one of the only districts on Long Island that does that. We fought for that. I know I fought for it, and Rich fought for it for many years and started even before us. So none of that's being cut. In terms of the security guards, remember, if the security guard is sitting at the front desk when everyone comes in, the security guard's going to also know everyone's name. And we also have redundancy. Remember, we have 2 full-time people sitting in a room 24/7, 365 days a year, watching 400 cameras. So we have camera redundancy, we have security guard redundancy, and we all fought for that. You know, look, a year ago, remember, it was only 1 security guard. Now it's 2.
But now, how does it work, like in the mornings with pick up and drop off, where you have the security guards helping with traffic? You know, there's so much that goes into it, and you're still leaving the vestibule open.
So, yeah, this is something that is going to continue with discussions.
Like, the 2 security guards should roam the school.
I can tell you that the vestibule will not be left open. If the security guards are out with arrival time, as Dr. Romanelli said, we put someone else in that vestibule. It's not going to be unguarded.
That's so weird.
What's that?
Hopefully our financial
That's so
situation.
weird, though.
We will work on the restructuring to ensure that all of our, buildings are run in the same manner. And we'll be looking to put staff in the places they need to be.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to come down?
Good evening. Many of you probably know me. Sue Sullivan, CCPD Administrator in the district. I've been through this budget process more times than I care to think about. As a parent in the district, grandparent in the district, whatever you want to call it. I'm concerned about the cuts of the summer school program at the high school. Are you planning on not offering the Regents Review session and offering Regents in district? Because I think that is going to be, I don't know, maybe Dr. Bridgman could speak to that or somebody else with numbers, how many students you actually had to take Regents last year in summer school.
We had approximately 50 students take part in summer school last year. With this elimination, we would not be running Regents Review classes.
So students would not even have the opportunity to retake the Regents if they should fail it, and now have to sit through it again or take it in the...
They would have an opportunity if they'd like to go to another district or BOCES that may be offering a summer program. If not, they would have the opportunity to retake it in the district throughout the school year in January and then again the following June.
I think that's something to think about, though, even if you can't open the full summer school program. I think it was helpful over the years, having looked at it myself, because I did a lot of the data back then. It was helpful at times to offer, at least a 2-week review session for the kids that need to pass the course to struggle with reading. So there's middle schools in there too. So, and I think those numbers are probably pretty significant as well. I did have a question about the Chromebook replacement cycle. I know that the 10th grader Chromebooks now, they're going 6 years to 7 years old next year. I don't know what the age, I know that there was, I did all that stuff, I certainly know. I just didn't know where the determination for the 9th graders versus the current 10th graders that have 6-year-old Chromebooks and what their life expectancy is of that currently. I'm kind of on that stuff now, but I know we're supposed to be 4 to 5 years.
So if that's something that we can get your number, I can have Dr. Kylie Brendan
No, I'm just bringing
reach
it up
out to
because I
you.
know that this is a big ticket item.
Sure.
I absolutely understand, but I see the performance of my grandson's Chromebook at home, and it is not performing as well. And he's taking good care of it, because I
What
made sure
grade
that
is
he's
he
taking
in?
care of it.
What grade is he in?
10th grade.
10th grade.
And he got in 6th grade, and I was all part of that replacement cycle back then. I just didn't know, I know it's a big number, and I'm just curious how that was going to handle.
We'll have Dr. Kylie Brendan reach out to you, and he can answer any questions that you have.
I'm just trying to,
But to your point, that is something that we need to take into consideration. Because obviously we all know
Because I'm, let's get to
technology.
at what point is it not productive to replace it for 11th and 12th grade? I don't know where we are in the replacement cycle. I think we came up with that about 5 years ago.
No, but I think that's a great question. I'm thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we will include that in our discussion, for sure. All right, we don't have anyone else. I know that.
I have a quick question. Sorry, should have done this before. I have a question about the library situation. If one library would split between both middle schools, does that mean that the library would be closed for the kids until the other librarian gets there? How would that work?
Again, we haven't totally completed the restructuring process, but the library, we would intend for it to be open. We would house it with two aides, one in each of the libraries, and the library media specialist would go between the two buildings. So I guess the answer to that question is it should not impact student access to the libraries.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Tucker.
No, Nobi, I was just gonna, oh, all right, we got one more.
I mean, I can project my voice, but I figured I'd walk down just in case. My name is Erin. Nice to meet you. I just want to make sure I leave here understanding what was said, so I don't need to beat a dead horse or waste anyone's time. I gotta get her to bed. I was here last year after the school shooting in Texas, after the stabbing in Lindenhurst. When we came here, we had Suffolk County PD, we had a nice demonstration, and security was here. You guys guaranteed us our kids are safe. You have a guard in the building, you have a guard outside the building. Paula J. Blue kids, when they're on the main road, they are safe even though there's just this little fence and any car can go through, right? Got this guarantee. We don't need armed guards. We don't need metal detectors. Now you're saying that that one guard that's in the building may now have to sit at a desk, at a door, just in case someone rings the bell. And if it's not that person, it could be someone who's in the office who's giving administrative support to the principal or whoever else. Now my daughter is in mainstream at Oakland. She just transferred there from the self-contained class at Manitowoc. I can tell you it's night and day between the two buildings. Manitowoc is chaos. It is overcrowded. There's not enough staff. So now you're asking the staff to make themselves even thinner by watching the front door to make sure the kids are safe. And I can tell from personal experience, Ms. Dowling knows because she's seen me, my daughter jumped out the classroom window and went running. So if you have the security guard at the front door, who's going to be outside? You know, my daughter has ASD. She didn't know what she was doing. She was 5. And then you have kids who are leaving our district to get services that our special ed program is not giving, but can get somewhere else, but yet it's in our budget. My daughter's going to get sent to BOCES within a month of kindergarten because she wasn't behaving. So I just want to know how you're going to take an overcrowded school that's understaffed and ask the staff to do more and still make us think that our kids are protected. Because I don't think that was said. I just heard a lot of talking in circles, and I might have misunderstood, so I just want to clarify.
So I would just say to that we do have to look at the reallocation of our staff in the buildings, which is one of the themes that we were trying to get across. I also want to say that we were very careful when we talked about rolling out armed guards, which we did. We do have armed guards in our school district.
You're talking about the car that's local or armed?
No, I'm talking, we are covered in all of our buildings with armed security guards. We were very careful about not talking about the inside, outside piece. Our guards are mobile and they can travel in and out of our buildings. Sometimes they may be inside, sometimes they may be outside, depending on the security situation. As Mr. Tussi mentioned, we have the 2 security booths where we have people with eyes on all of our buildings at all times, and if there's any sort of threat, we reallocate our security staff. That's all going to be part of our conversation going forward for next year, but we definitely do safety is a priority of this Board of Education and Administration.
I mean, getting rid of the security, it doesn't sound like it. But my question is to them, because last year at that beautiful demonstration we had about security, if there was a threat on the grounds, it was lockdown. So the guard was outside perimeter, couldn't get in, like students were all safe, so no one can get in, that's a threat. So if you have a security guard at the vestibule, and then there's a threat outside the building, like our Paul J. Blue right here on the main road, then how are you gonna do that when you have one security standing at a desk like he's administrative staff?
There's 2 security guards.
Each building has 2, but you have one sitting at a
The
desk.
intent is not for one security guard to be stationed permanently at that front
Yeah,
desk.
so overworked staff, you want them.
We have locked vestibules in each of our buildings, and we have other support staff in the buildings and clerical in the main office that we have to look at, and we need to figure out how we can reallocate these staff members.
And they're gonna be trained
to
to
make this
handle these
situation work.
situations?
Yes, they will be.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to, thanks, Mr. Tussey, I just wanted to say one or two things. One of the big pieces that has been discussed at the state level regarding budget cuts has been all about enrollment and a decrease in enrollment in New York State and on Long Island over the course of the past 10 years. We heard some numbers that we've lost about 1 million people in New York State over the past 10 years, which is one of the highest numbers since, Great Migration, since the Dust Bowl era. It's a pretty significant number in talking about that sort of exodus from a state. The justification behind the aid removal and less funding for schools from the governor has been stated as, since we have less kids in some of our buildings, we should be giving less money to the schools. Our stance on this has been that our students and our situation in our buildings is not the same as it was 10 years ago. We have more students who are classified. We have more students, we have more ENL students. We have a lot more in terms of mental health needs for our students. So we have been advocating and fighting back on that with our local politicians. I know we have Senator Martinez coming this Friday. We have Assemblyman Durso coming next week. We had Senator Wyken as well. We're going up to Albany to speak to lawmakers about all of this and talking about how, a lower enrollment number shouldn't necessarily equate to less dollars from the state. And the other big piece that we're talking about and trying to rally behind for the coming years, I know Mrs. Marks mentioned the $1 million to take a look at our state aid formula. West Islip, every district is unique. What makes West Islip unique in terms of our tax scenario and our budget scenario, when we put our pie chart up last year talking about our budget, 68% of our budget is funded from taxpayers, right? So that is a large number. We don't have money coming into the district from industry. We don't have money coming into the district from other revenue sources there that are large and significant. So we're going to be advocating for, when the state aid formula is redone, looking at districts where a large burden of the budget falls on taxpayers and hoping that we can get some additional money for districts like West Islip. There are other districts out there, even on Long Island as well, that are in similar situations, so we will be advocating on that piece there.
I'm going to stay here, but back to the vestibule. I mean, can we, before we cut this position, maybe take a look at it every day, like what she does every day? Like I'm a class mom. I'm there at all times of the day, 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 3 o'clock. It's a full-time position. It's not, nobody's sitting there doing nothing at any time of the day. Like constant. Phone calls, parents. I've gone at 10 o'clock in the morning and there's a line of 3-4 people. Like it is a constant job.
Yeah, listen, first of all, thank you for volunteering as a class mom. I know how much goes into that, but I don't think there's one person in this room that thinks that someone who sits at that table doesn't do anything. We're all aware.
No, I'm not saying, I wasn't meaning
No, but
that, but.
we get it. I guess what I'm really trying to say is that at this workshop, we're here to absorb the information that's presented to us. It's now going to be our job to continue conversations to see if this is the avenue we are going to go. And everyone stands out here, we are listening to, and we are we're taking notes. And we are not going to make a decision if it's not in the best interests, not just of students, but of staff as well. So I thank you for reiterating that and clarifying, your level and stance of importance. We get it. I mean, I'd love to tell you that right now, it's just what they're saying, but we're going to explore every avenue to make these difficult decisions, like I said. And I'm going to ask, I'm going to have one last question here.
Yeah, just to jump on that one. There's also the clubs in the morning that start at 8:31. I know that you had said that you've got plenty of extra staff, that you can just replace that with, but I'm sure they also have jobs to do. She's right. That's a 24/7 job. I mean, that's our first line of defense for our children. I take that very seriously. And I know that, the person in charge of that school, I know that they take that seriously too. I mean, that's really something you need to really consider.
We
It's not
certainly,
just, we got
we
extra
listen. We
lunch
certainly
days, let's
will.
Put them in the front. It's not really ideal.
And listen, I don't want to cut you off, and for anyone that's probably going to speak on the same topic, we get it. We're going to take that information, and we're going to have discussions. So there's no decision being made tonight.
And that desk is going to be manned full-time.
What about a new person,
That's to be worked out, but that's what they have to work out and let us know. But that's going to be manned full-time.
And just, the other woman was saying, she's right. I remember last year when, there was an incident where like the car was roaming across in Manitowoc, on the Udall Field, I remember whole security guards that got up to take a look at the situation. Now, whole security guards that had left the school, you can't rely on one at the front either. It's really, you really got to think about it.
Listen, like you said, lots of things to think about, lots of things to consider. I know we have another question here.
I just wanted to know, who made the decision to implement new programs for high school students, such as, and you said you're looking to hire people to teach these specialty programs, but cut programs for children that are in need, such as the summer school or the regional aid. I know you said you're moving them to a different school, but it just seems like, why are we cutting for kids that are already in school and then offering something else?
We are able to run those CTE classes with no additional staff needed by taking a look at the enrollment in our various sections. So it is not requiring new staff to implement those 2 new courses.
Thank you.
And one last thing. I know we're all focused on security, and I know we have some security guards here today, and I just want to compliment them on the job they do every day. We've got a sensational staff. We did implement the armed guards last year. We spent a lot of money on them, and they're just wonderful community people who protect your children every day. And I see Kyle back there and the rest of them. But thank you.
Remind everybody that we do have a Board of Education meeting tomorrow night here in this location. So, of course, we encourage you to come down. Feel free to ask questions. So, otherwise, thank you very much for attending tonight. Have a great night. And we are going to move into our committee meetings in just a moment.